I have complex feelings about roller skating.
Hi, I'm Moonbeam, and this is Wheels on Wheels, a talk show about roller skating. Katie, pronouns she, her, is a park skater and roller skating instructor. Katie is currently off skates due to a skating injury and has been off for 6 months with a long road of recovery to go. Katie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
How long have you been roller skating?
I started skating like a lot of us when the pandemic hit. I work in a job that is pretty stressful and was weighing on me a lot, and I just needed something to shift gears and be playful and be fun, and I had always wanted to roller skate. I rollerbladed when I was a kid, but with cheap gear and cheap wheels, it was never actually enjoyable. I bit the bullet and I bought some Amazon skates just to see if I'd like it, and that was in the summer of 2020. I immediately fell on my ass and realized that I needed way more padding. So then I decked out in the butt pads, the knee, elbow, wrist, like everything that you can. Yeah, I just tried to get on skates as much as possible.
What kind of skating do you do?
A little bit of everything. So I started with the intention of doing artistic, like dance. Way back when I did figure skating, not that I remember any of it. I went in with the thought that that's what I would focus on. There was all the dance videos on YouTube, Instagram that I could follow. But I was practicing down in my basement, and at first that was perfect, nice smooth area. But very quickly the space got small, and I moved to trying outdoor skating, which is when I did a lot of research into the different types of gear, and oh my god, the gear makes the difference. I upgraded my skates, I actually got outdoor wheels, and then path skating has become such a release. Just getting out in nature and working your body. You can do it solo, you can do it in a group, like it's just absolutely amazing. And then a friend of mine who saw me getting into roller skating wanted to get into roller skating and asked if I would take a course through the city of Ottawa. And that's how I met Megan. And she is the one who convinced me to try park skating. And I thought that it wasn't for me, but it turns out with the right people, it can be a lot of fun. And yeah, you can do it safely. I know I'm speaking with an injury currently, but you can park skate safely. I was not park skating when it happened. Yeah, and I just fell in love with the speed and the community, and I very rarely go to the skate park alone. It's always with friends.
And can you talk to me a little bit more about that community?
The community is amazing. When I first started skating, I didn't know anyone else who roller skated. I kept having to convince people that I knew to get into it, and some of them did and some of them didn't. And then when I took that course with my friend and met Megan, she actually introduced me to all of you guys. And it has been kind of like I've known you all my life. It was just immediate acceptance and be who you want to be, and whatever level you're at is fine. And it was just this overwhelming feeling of like, I have found my place.
And you fit right in. Like, you are one of the best cheerleaders and hype women at the skate park.
I really like the teaching aspect. So if I'm showing someone something and they're getting it, that just excites me so much. And then even if I'm not teaching, if I see somebody who is not giving up, putting the effort in and doing the same things that I would do, again, like this community is so where I belong. I just love that. Everyone is so supportive. Everyone's trying their hardest. It's just a really good feeling.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, the community is so amazing. You're a roller skater teacher. Do you want to talk about that?
So Megan got me into teaching with her at the City of Ottawa, which was absolutely amazing. I have always loved teaching. I thought for the longest time that that would be my career. That is not the career path for me. But teaching people who want to learn a thing, that's my jam. I love making people feel comfortable on skates. I love taking that fear away and replacing it with that feeling of, oh my God, I did it. That is just the best feeling in the world. It was actually while I was teaching that I got injured. I wasn't doing anything scary. I wasn't doing anything crazy. I wasn't even demonstrating anything. I was just standing on skates, moving slowly. I lost my balance. I started to do exactly what you're not supposed to do, kicking your feet, trying to stay balanced. My toe stop got caught and I crunched down on my leg, which broke into many pieces. So that was an interesting experience. So I broke the tibia in 2 places and the fibula in at least 3 places.
Ouch. And so you were teaching, and then your other co-instructor was there to help take care of you.
Yes. And the 21 students. So it was right in the last 15 minutes of class. I teach 2 classes a night. It was the second class, and it was the last course in an 8-week program. So right at the last possible second, I fell. I heard 2 snaps. They will haunt me for the rest of my life. So yeah, my foot turned completely 180 backwards, and my first instinct was to army crawl to safety. I don't know what safety was in this scenario, but that's, your body just says, get out of here. And then my co-instructor casually asked if I was okay because it looked like a nothing fall. And I remember screaming that I am most definitely not okay. They looked over, saw what I looked like, and was just like, don't move and don't look. And that is exactly when I knew my fears were confirmed. I knew I'd broken my shin. Everything else kind of felt okay. It was just my leg dragging behind me as I tried to crawl. So they were awesome. There was Kim and Cynthia as co-instructors. They called the ambulance. It was a close to 2-hour wait for the ambulance. So Kim had the pleasure of calling both my husband and my parents, who lived close by to where the accident was, and explaining that I was okay, but not okay. All 3 of them beat the ambulance there. My parents got there first, and that was a relief. My mom always makes things better, and she used to be a nurse, so like just having her there made me feel better. And then my husband arrived shortly thereafter, and before I even knew that he had arrived, the first thing I hear from him is, well, that is backwards.
I saw the picture. That was gnarly. Your foot should not be looking like that.
Yeah, it was definitely pointing the wrong direction. Mm-hmm. I never lost consciousness. I could answer questions and things like that, but only when I was directed by name. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I was just trying to be in my happy place. I was just breathing and trying not to be where I was. Mm-hmm. Kim was awesome. They got blankets from their car. They had a pillow, putting ice on my neck to keep me where I was. And actually there was one student who everybody was respectful, didn't crowd around me, which was awesome. And a lot of them were like, thank you, we love you, feel better, as they left. But there was one student who like refused to leave until the ambulance drove away, just in case they could be useful. It's nice to see all the people crowd around at the same time. It's a horrible experience, but at the same time, I'm grateful that Cynthia and Kim were there, and my parents could come so quickly, that Matt could come so quickly. That part was really comforting. The ambulance got there. They gave me some morphine, which made me immediately puke on the floor. Then they had to roll me over because I was on my stomach and I needed to be on my back for the backboard to lift me up. I remember screaming. I don't remember the pain, so that's good. And then they wanted to cut off my roller skate. If they had to do it, they had to do it, but I have good skates. They are reinforced. They're meant for park skating. So Cynthia thankfully jumped in and was like, can we just undo them all the way to the toes and see if that, and that was enough. So I haven't looked at them too much because they give me mixed feelings.
Oh yeah.
But they are downstairs. I'm only missing a lace from that one. They did have to cut through my pads, pants, and socks. So those I lost, but thankfully my mom was allowed to be in the ambulance. They only had 2 ambulance workers, usually there's 3, and she did have medical training, so they asked if she could help stabilize my leg for the drive to the hospital. So again, it was awesome having a friendly face there for it.
Oh yeah.
especially considering the accident was around like 9:15. The ambulance arrived like around 11ish. I wasn't actually admitted to the hospital until like 2 a.m. And actually, funny story, I thought that as people walked by the hallway, we were getting funny looks because I was on morphine, and both my mom and I have the like laugh at funeral gene. So we were chatting and laughing and cracking jokes and this, that, and the other, and everyone else was just kind of like silent and miserable. So I thought that's why we were getting the weird looks. But my mom took a picture of me, and what people were actually seeing was I was lying on the stretcher and my knee was facing this way and my foot was facing that way on the bed.
Oh no!
So that's what people were looking at. And then the doctor's like, I don't need to see x-rays, this is clearly broken, like we're gonna reset the leg where it needs to go. And I don't respond well to anesthetics or drugs or any of that stuff, like fentanyl doesn't do anything, it's bad. And so I'm lying on the table and I'm like, okay, I don't go under easily. And they're like, we got the good stuff, don't worry about it. But that's honestly what every doctor has always said. And so they put the mask over me and they're like, take some nice deep breaths and then you're gonna wake up like you had the best nap in the world. And so I'm taking deep breaths. And she's like, no, breathe. And I'm like, breathing? And she's like, no, breathe. And so the last thing I remember is, I don't know if I said it or if I was just thinking, but I'm obviously breathing, like all over my face, and then I was out. And then I woke up feeling like I had the best nap in the world. And the doctors are like, yeah, it's great, don't worry, let's just get out of here. And my mom was in the hall watching through a window. And I was like, oh, like, did that actually go smoothly? And she's like, no. As soon as you were out, you started physically fighting the doctors and then you stopped breathing.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's just because they had to up the anesthetic, and so it slows whatever the automatic stuff that controls your breathing and everything. It happens often, they knew what to do with it.
Okay.
But yeah, that was fun. I'm sure my mom loved watching that. And then I was kept in the hospital with no pain meds because they thought that I was going to have surgery right away. And at 7:30 in the morning, they released me saying, come back on Wednesday and we'll do the surgery then. So no food or water overnight, no pain meds in the morning. And so we arrived and basically they had no idea why we were there. I wasn't on a schedule. I was in the wrong place. Nothing made sense. Finally, the doctor who had said that arrived and she's like, oh, my bad. Like, we don't have time. You have to go back home. And I was definitely upset about that because I'm just lugging a shattered leg around without pain meds. Not the most enjoyable.
No.
So then to make it better, they increased, I had like a 3/4 cast on. So the back and sides was hard and then it was soft to allow for swelling. And at first it only came to here. And after that meeting, they brought it up to here, which did help. I didn't feel them like jiggling around as much, but it's also in your head. You know what I mean? Like, ugh. So I was told to go back home and at 11 o'clock at night, start fasting. So no food, water, or pain meds. And that they would call at 8 o'clock in the morning to say whether today's the day or, okay, take your pain meds and start eating. I was called, told to come in, came in, got taken into pre-op, got the IV thing put in but not hooked up, and lay there for hours. And then was told that they didn't have time for me, so go home and we'll try again tomorrow. And then the next day, we didn't get a call. So we called the hospital and the response that we got was, oh, didn't you have surgery yesterday? So after explaining that, no, I still have yet to have surgery, I actually did end up having surgery that day. They got me on the schedule. The accident was on Monday and I finally had surgery on Friday. And then began what I thought was recovery process. Yeah. So recovery went a little differently planned. I realize now that I was very naive going into this. I'd broken my arm when I was little. It was only like a fracture in one of, I think, the radial bone or something. I was young. It healed, no problem. And okay, bye, off to the playground. So I kind of just assumed that it's gonna suck, but you'll get a cast on and then you won't move for a while and then you'll be back after some physio. Not at all what ended up happening. They had to put a rod in my tibia, a plate on my fibula, and 11 screws. And because there was so much hardware, they didn't need a cast because there was nowhere that my leg could go anyway, which ultimately was a blessing considering how hot the summer was and how when your leg swells up that big, the skin dies, and oh my god, being able to itch was the best thing ever. But it turned out that the first thing we discovered was that for whatever reason, the bones just weren't growing the way that they were supposed to. So I was not weight bearing for quite a while longer than expected. It was 6 to 8 weeks initially, and then that was 3 months before I could actually put any weight. My leg shriveled up into this little gnarly little twig. Eventually, they hoped that they would see growth. Growth wasn't happening, so they sent me for a CT scan, and hallelujah, they saw some fibrous connections. So the hope is growth is happening, just a lot slower. And then the other issue was the plate that they put in for the fibula. They had to select a thicker than average plate because the bone was just kind of slushy.
Damn.
Fun times. But because of how big it was and where it was, the incision just never closed. I couldn't flex my ankle without it ripping on the skin. And so they were a little bit worried that infection was getting in. They were a little bit worried that it would never heal. And so in November, I had another surgery to remove the plate. And thankfully, the incision is looking so much happier than it's ever looked. I'm weight bearing, I'm walking, I'm slowly making progress. I think I'm on the other side of this thing, but I definitely still have ways to go. I can't do any twisting motion or any impact or anything like that. Basically, I can just weight bear in a forward or backward direction.
But that is huge progress.
Yes. Considering no one ever explained to me that when you break a leg, you lose 3 limbs because you have to move with your arms.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I couldn't carry anything. I was absolutely useless. The catchphrase around my house is that I'm ragingly independent and I hate sitting still, so it was awesome.
So how did you keep your sanity?
Sometimes I didn't.
Fair. Absolutely.
Sometimes I
fair.
didn't. Immediately after the accident, I think I was in denial for quite a while. I understood that it was a traumatic break, but I didn't put it together. I started physio for the first time after the first surgery. And when I was meeting the physiotherapist, I was like, you deal with all kinds of crazy stuff. And I was like, what is the gnarliest thing you've seen? And he was basically just like,
Wow. Yeah.
you. Oh, I don't think of it that way. And one of the reasons why a bone can be so slow to regrow is if it's a traumatic break. And I had 5 traumatic breaks in the same area. But my brain just wouldn't accept the fact that had happened. And then another part that I was kind of dealing with, so I had touched on the fact that my work has a high exposure to graphic content and that it had been weighing on me. Immediately following the accident, feeling so vulnerable really set me back in that. And at first I didn't understand where I was just sad and angry in certain situations, and I didn't know why. So eventually I figured out that that's where that was coming from, and I've been trying to work through those feelings and it's been getting better and but it took a little bit to actually realize what the issue was at first. And then I think just as I would get setbacks, I would be set back. So I'd be like, it could be a lot worse. I've got a good job, so I've got good medical leave. Matt, my husband, can be here with me, and you know, my parents are in town and they're willing to help. Friends came over. There were so many things to be grateful for. I was 2 hours waiting for an ambulance to come. I didn't even know if I had circulation in my foot. So things could have been so much worse. And so for a lot of it, that was my mentality. But then hearing at your 18-week checkup that there's still no bone growth, it's like, okay, great, just another thing that my body can't do, you know? Mm-hmm. And at one point, I had some discharge weeks after the incision should have been closed. And the immediate thought from healthcare professionals was that, well, there's an infection. And it's like, I've been doing everything to keep it clean. I can't help the fact that I have an opening for that long, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yeah, as setbacks came in, they would hit me and I'd need to like readjust and reset and things like that. But for the day-to-day, I'm fortunate that I am definitely a crafter. And I love art of all mediums. I try anything that interests me. I discovered pencil crayon. And I got some books and was learning the techniques and the blending, and so I just hyper fixated on doing that. And then once I was the slightest bit mobile, I would get people to set me up outside so I'd be in the shade and doing my art and stuff. So definitely, if there was one saving grace, it was having something that I could lose myself in and not really notice the passage of time. Like,
you mentioned that community is so important to you. So it must have been really hard to be outside of that community for going on 6 months now.
Yes. This year, I'd say I probably had the most growth as a skater. Usually in the winter, I'm more of a weekend, go to the yard. But with teaching, every week I was 3 hours on nice flat surfaces and teaching the students new things, which only increase my skills with it. And then playing around at the end of class, you just get more comfortable. And then other people in the community had gotten more into park skating, and so there was a lot more trips to the skate park. And like anything, more time doing it, the better you get. So I really felt like I was making leaps and bounds, trick-wise, confidence-wise, all that kind of stuff. And so when I had my injury, and I realized right away that this isn't going to be a couple of week thing, you know what I mean? It is a bone, it is going to have to regrow. My immediate thought and fear is that all these people are going to move beyond where I am, mm-hmm. and I'm not going to be able to follow. Mm-hmm. And I learn from others as well. Like I said, I hardly ever go to the park without other people because they're the ones who see your form and can make comments and tips and whatever. So yeah, that hit really hard. But again, the community really came through for me. Lauren has checked up on me multiple times. She stops in. You have checked up on me multiple times, have stepped in. Patty, like as groups, as individuals, you just kind of let me know that, hey, we're still here, you know? But then above and beyond that, you were recovering from your injury when I got injured. And so we got to talk about those shared feelings, you know what I mean? That loss of community, that fear that you're not going to be able to rejoin it, or you will be able to rejoin it, but you won't be able to skate with the people that you did before, and Patty as well, she'd had the injury at the yard where she broke her ankle, and she's gotten back to skating with a plate in her foot. So talking with her was also comforting and reassuring that it can be done.
Oh yeah, she's great now. She's had a lot of progress. So.
Exactly. That part is really, really good to see. I can say like one thing that I struggle with, I've had some other medical issues in the past, and I unfortunately have some experience with going to the hospital and going through Emerge and basically medical trauma that comes with those scenarios. And so one of the things that I'm struggling with the most, I think, about returning to roller skating isn't about, oh, you know, I'm just going to hurt myself again. Obviously, I have those fears, but the number one thing that terrifies me right now is needing medical care, because we don't have healthcare right now. There is no emergency care. If you go to the emerge overnight, you probably won't be seen until the morning, and just the level of care. And I'm not blaming healthcare workers. I understand that they are overworked, underpaid, and it's a systemic issue. I want to return to my active lifestyle and doing my stupid things safely and not being fearless, being careful, but not living in fear. And I'm finding that a little bit difficult. I just spoke about the first ambulance experience. And after my second surgery, I think I picked something up in the hospital. I'm not sure. I didn't see anyone other than that. But the surgery was on a Thursday, and 3 days later, when the bandage came off, I woke up in the middle of the night and I just could not stop vomiting. After like a good number of hours doing that, it was hospital time, and we don't have healthcare. I struggle to find words to describe how bad that experience was. I have significant fear in that area. Thankfully, the injury happened while I was teaching, so I was at work. So WSIB is covering my physiotherapy, which is awesome. And they can also cover sports psychologists. So that's something that I'm gonna take advantage of, just not live in fear of needing medical attention.
Pre-injury and even through the injury, you're a very fit person. You do a lot of weight training, etc.
I have a personal trainer who is the husband of my best friend. It's a lot of fun, and it is 100% my therapy. Nothing makes me feel better than moving my body, getting those endorphins, and also I am really good friends with the person. And if I cry in the middle of a workout, he just deals with it. And thankfully, he's used to working with people who have injuries. So in conjunction with physiotherapy, I've been able to continue with my trainer. So my husband actually moved up a bit of my gear. I work out at home. But yeah, my trainer, he was able to figure out arm exercises that wouldn't require me to stabilize with my legs, or would do core exercises again that didn't require any leg involvement. So I could like an actual sweaty workout in without endangering my leg at all, which being able to be comfortable doing that, I don't know if I could have done it without him, but I don't know if I could have survived if I didn't do it. Yeah, I'm an angry person when I don't work out. I need to work out. And actually, I can proudly say that on Friday, I did my first 1 hour of only legs. Yay. This thigh is dying, but it feels so good. And like legs, I am squatting to a bench and standing up, or super simple movement things just to get those muscles moving again. But oh my god, it feels so good. It feels so
Oh, that is amazing.
Oh my god.
Do you feel comfortable flexing for the camera? I mean, look at those guns. Amazing.
Thanks, Tom!
You gotta tell me about this card here.
Oh yeah, so I brought this out because a friend of mine made this for me. This is before we drop in at the bowl at Legacy. And I had only just started doing it. It still scares the bejesus out of me, but it's doable.
Oh.
And our friend Jamie, who is a photographer, took the picture from inside the bowl, and I loved the angle. And then another friend of mine, as a Christmas present, got it made into a magic card. So that made me feel really good.
Oh, that's so cute. So what does the future look like?
That is a very good question. I still have a long way to go for actual recovery. So it'll be a while before I have to make the decision of like, am I skating again? As it stands right now, I want to return to skating. I want to return to all forms of skating, and especially teaching. But I definitely need to deal with the fear of not having a safety net. I just always assumed that if you got hurt, you go to the hospital and you get better. So I'm gonna work on that part and hopefully get back to all of my wild and crazy pre-injury ways.
And we can't wait to have you back. If your students are watching this and traumatized and thinking, oh my God, Katie wasn't even doing a cool trick when she broke her leg in like more than 5 places.
So all of the students reached out to me, which I thought was just so nice. And I do remember replying, 8 weeks of hearing me yell, legs of steel, if it hurts, it's working, stuff like that. This is not what I meant. This is not the leg of steel you want. This is not the pain that means it's working.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But definitely for anybody who is learning and afraid of getting hurt, this was a fluke accident. I got really angry at first. If I was throwing myself off of a 6-foot ramp, cool. I was doing something stupid and I deserved it. But I wasn't. And I really struggled with that. But being in the hospital and having long wait times, you start talking to the other people who are in there, and at least I was on wheels. This could have happened doing anything. A friend of mine's cousin in early 30s got out of their car weird, broke their leg in 6 places, and it resulted in a non-union. I would be so angry. Somebody else slipped going to the fridge. I kind of had to give myself a little grace on that one. It's not because I was roller skating.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to laugh when, the workers' comp, they obviously want to know, was City of Ottawa at fault? Could they have done anything to prevent this? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I was on a nice, smooth, polished surface. Not anything or anyone around me. And I wear more protective gear than probably any one of my students. There's nothing that could have prevented this.
Yeah.
It just happens.
Yeah.
Which I struggle with, but I'm trying. I have complex feelings about roller skating. I have very big and scary feelings after my injury, and the thought of returning to roller skating and other active things. But I have to say that the love and relationships and community that I got out of roller skating is just so worth it. It outweighs any of the negative.
Amazing.
Amazing!
I like